G'day guys and girls, and welcome to the Amateur Racer Podcast, the podcast by amateur racers for amateur racers. My name's Curtis Smith and I'm here by myself. Well, my dog's sitting next to me if that counts. Lance couldn't make it, so I figured I'd just punch out one by myself because we've got a bit to catch up on. We got the World Superbikes, we haven't covered Assen yet. Imola was just on the weekend, and also we got MotoGP this weekend, so we're going to do our tips. I got Lance's tips, so I can do them at least. But yeah, let's get into it. I'll briefly cover Assen. It was while we were away on the holidays. Pretty much, it was the Batista show again. He won every single race, all three. But I will say everyone was a little bit closer. Well, at least Ray and the Yamaha boys. So, Ray got second in 2 races, but he got his first third. Vandermark beat him in the second race, the second full-length race, by the tiniest of margins. So good on him in his home race. But the gap from Ray to Batista was only about 3 seconds. So much smaller. They were bringing that gap closer. So it's good to see, even though Batista looked pretty comfortable, let's be honest. He knows the track, that bike fucking rips, and he's riding well. 600s, R6 show again, whatever. Nothing really to say about that. And honestly, nothing controversial from that round. It was pretty much by the numbers. Nothing exciting really happened. The BMW boys definitely improving though, getting all their parts sorted, getting a bit more power on top end, which is really noticeable because they're still getting smoked on it. It's really hard for them riding in the group because they can't ride their own lines and they just get past on the straights. But definite improvement. The latest round at Imola, awesome weekend. Some people said it was a bit boring, I'll sum it up. Ray is back, baby. I said it. I called it. People laughed at me, Batista's going to keep winning. Ray won by a huge margin in both the races. Unfortunately, the race 2 got cancelled under controversial circumstances. We'll get to that. But yeah, Ray was won by like 10 seconds both races. He was just on absolute fire. Which was good to see, bringing a bit of competition back into the championship. And this is where he turned around last year as well, because he wasn't doing as well last year, as many people think he was. But about this mark, it was Imola. He turned it around and really started to pour it on. So maybe the same thing's going to happen here. We'll see. I love this circuit. It's one we don't see as often. It's not on the MotoGP circuit. It's a bit wild. It's a bit different. So we got these chicanes everywhere and these awesome awesome corner names like Aqua Minerale and all these things. It is a mad circuit, off-camber stuff. Bit of airtime as well in a couple of turns. It's a cool circuit. Some people say it's a little bit dangerous, a bit wild, but that's what makes it great. And I think it's more of a rider's circuit instead of a bike circuit, and that's why we saw Ray really get ahead there. Batista, he just didn't look comfortable all weekend. It's probably a completely different style of circuit to what he's used to. So he didn't know the circuit as well for one, but his bike looked pretty unstable. Combination of him and the bike, I would say, because Ray looked ridiculously stable and was pretty much able to put it wherever he wanted, which showed in the timesheets. But Batista, he didn't quite look comfortable, but he did really, really well just to bring home points. Very good points, a second and a third. He got the second pretty much because Davies had a mechanical. It's safe to say that Davies would have beaten him as he did in the Superpole race, but he was spewing to get a mechanical. I don't know what it was. There was a couple of mechanicals as well. Sykes had one as well after he was looking really strong. So, a bit of an interesting weekend in terms of bike reliability, let's say. But great to see Ray back up there. Toprak was really strong. Really strong. I've talked about him in other podcasts, how I thought he wasn't as good as he usually is. Last season, I thought he was better. He was up in the timesheets a bit more. But he proved me wrong this week. And he beat Haslam in the first race there. He was duking out with Haslam and Vandermark. Haslam seemed to have the pace, but he kept making mistakes going into chicanes and, making silly mistakes. His Toprak just looked really strong, and he earned that podium. Like, good on him. Not the best English, or maybe even personality, I'd say, in his interviews. It seemed a bit boring, but he is Turkish. Not that Turkish people are bad, but he was very reserved. I would have been way more excited than he was to get podium on a satellite bike. I would have been absolutely stoked, but maybe that's just how he is, a bit more reserved. Maybe that's it. So Lowe's, I noticed in the race, really struggled, and I was wondering what was going on. I looked into it, and he said that he was struggling with illness the whole weekend, and he was actually sick in his helmet, so definitely not going to help. So he really fell back. Sykes again, really good. Seems to be improving that BMW a lot, especially on this circuit, which is not as top speed orientated. Even though definitely have improved their power, it's been noticeable. If anyone else saw, did you see what that new stock BMW is putting out? It's putting out 206 rear wheel horsepower from a stock bike, no exhaust or anything. That's ridiculous. So as soon as they get the power sorted out on this one, it should be ridiculous. It's got to be one of the most powerful bikes going around. The Aprilia is up there, but it's an 1100, so it doesn't count. And the B4R, we all know that makes a shitload of power too. So anyway, I'm getting off track. One of the big things from the weekend was Bridewell. So he's there just filling in. Literally came in on the second day, I think. So he missed some practice sessions. And he's awesome. Got, what did he get? 11th in the Super Pole race. Let me just bring up the other time here. And 12th in race 1. That is a damn good effort. Completely different bike, different electronics. Like he rides a Ducati in the British Superbike, so still massive difference on a track he probably doesn't know amazingly well. Huge effort from him. Very, very impressive. I think he's going to get another wild card as well as a result. So I think that Ducati was impressed as well. Back to Sykes. Unfortunately got a mechanical after being in a really strong position in the first race. And in the second race, he rode really well, but just fell back a bit. And he couldn't hold that pace. Excuse me. And was really duking out with Razgatlioglu and Torres as well. So they kind of slowed them all each other down. I have to say, Aqua Minerale, such a cool turn. Batista was kind of getting it wrong in that turn, but as a result, he was getting massive airtime. It was awesome to watch. Such a cool circuit. So I suppose we better talk about, besides Ray smoking everyone, the next biggest thing from the weekend was they didn't race the second race because of the conditions. So what they did to begin with, which is a bit weird, was they took Davies, Batista, and Ray out in a safety car. The old, let's go have a look, see what you think, see if the track's looking good, it's safe, all that kind of things. Number one, why would you take those three out? First up, Ray. Of course Ray's going to want to race. He just smoked him in race 1 and 2, or the Super Bowl. So he was pretty much guaranteed a win. He was guaranteed a win in the second race, which would close up the championship. So Batista, of course Batista is going to say no. He's just going to be like, no, I'm right, because he's most likely he's going to get it like a third or crash. Wet conditions, he didn't look overly comfortable the whole weekend. There's a high chance he was going to crash, which is going to ruin his, well, not ruin, but certainly put a dent in his championship lead. And Davies, he's his teammate. He probably would have raced, to be honest. Davies is a bit of a loose unit. but he's his teammate, so you'd think he would side with Batista. So the result of that was they couldn't make a decision about whether they're going to race or not, because everyone had conflicting opinions. So what they did is they took everyone out, every racer out. Couldn't make a decision either. So the result was the people running the event called it off. But it was pretty comical because Ray was on the grid. He's on the grid, ready to go, saying, look, yeah, come on, let's ride this race. And then they called it off. So very strange. Look, Imola is a bit of a wild circuit as it is. The MotoGP boys don't want to really ride there because they say it's not as safe. Look, it's a safe circuit, let's be honest. There's way more wild circuits than that. The walls are a bit close at times, and I think it's the really sharp chicanes they don't like. Can cause crashes and issues and things like that. And it's a different kind of circuit. People don't like it because it's different. So there's a couple of ways you can look into this. First up, it's in Italy. Ducati got a lead. They didn't want to race it because Ray was going to win. Second, it was dangerous. The conditions weren't great. So they pretty much said, look, for the safety of everyone, we won't race it. So they're the two opinions going around. Look, honestly, it's probably a bit wet. Ray would have raced it anyway, but this isn't the Northwest 200 or Isle of Man, like safety pretty well comes first. But if you want to go off a conspiracy, run with it. I'm all for a good conspiracy. All right, on to the Super Sport 600 class. Pretty interesting race. There was some really good action, mixed conditions, but it certainly didn't slow them down. These guys were going hammer and tong and close to lap record pace, even though on a couple of corners it was definitely raining, and it wasn't heavy rain. You could see the water on the lens and the flags were out, but still pretty loose stuff. They certainly weren't hanging around. Some of the highlights from the race for me and big talking points were Lucas Myers and De Rosa on the MV. Early on, they were just going for it, really duking it out until Myers got ahead. The Yamaha boys were up front for the first three. I think we had Cluzel, Krumenaka, and Caricasulo. But Myers, he really caught right up to them, and I was thinking, oh, here we go, because Myers rides Kawasaki. I thought, it's going to be the end of the R6 Cup. This guy's got the pace. But what happened was he caught right up to Cluzel. And I don't know what happened, but in the chicane, Cluzel was just, entered fine, looked like he was going to exit fine, but just had no pace. I don't know what he was doing. So Myers just ran into the back of him pretty hard and lost his front. And Cluzel was able to carry on. But Gradinger was not as lucky. He came off and had to pick his bike up. Myers as well picked his bike up. I think he ended up getting about 7th, which is a good result considering he clashed. But I think Cluzel was at fault. Sure, the person passing in Myers, they're the people, you're passing, it's on you. But for some reason, Cluzel had no moment. Like, he was going really slow out of the corner, and Myers would not have expected that. So I can see why he crashed, and I would say Cluzel's at fault. Let me know what you guys think. Some people will definitely have a different opinion than that. Oh, definitely. Interestingly, Caricasulo, he was in the lead. Looked like he had the pace. He was sitting in third. Got up to first. Looked like it was going to be him. And Krumenaka, on the second last lap, he set the fastest lap of the race, as you do. And then smoked him on the last lap. Caricasulo was not impressed. He looked fucking pissed. Even as soon as he got past, he was shaking his head like he knew he was done. He's like, man, this fucker's too fast for me. And he looked even more unimpressed across the finish line. Pretty devastated to get second. Terrible result. But pilot for me, MV in second, MV Augusta. De Rosa did a huge wheelie for third. Got to respect a good wheelie. So it's good to see someone behind, that wasn't Yamaha, up on the podium, which we talked about. And definitely it's such a sexy bike. I know we always talk about it, but as he was riding into the pits, I was just like, damn, that MV Augusta is sexy. With the raised single exhaust on the side, I think it's an SC project or something. The dark grey, put a horn on a jellyfish, that thing. It is awesome. Well done to Akubo. But since Myers, when crashed, Akubo, I'm pretty sure got 4th. So I brought it home for Kawasaki, and that was his best ever result. So pretty good race. Like, I was interested. Sometimes I get a bit bored by the 600s because it's been like the same 3 all year. Caricasulo, Krumenaka, and Cluzel. So it's good to see things are getting mixed up a bit. The other guys are getting a bit more pace. And as I said about the superbikes, Imola brings out other riders. You know, it's a very rider-based circuit. There's not as much top speed. Takes a bit more balls. So the cream rises to the top a lot of the time. Fuck, I would love to see this in MotoGP. It'd be such a cool circuit to have there. Unfortunately, the 300s didn't race since the weather, pretty much. So, not looking good for my favourite, Anna Carrasco, because she DNF'd last round, I believe it was. She was looking really strong this round. So, but there's so few races for those guys where if you're behind, I know anything can happen. It's 300s. Like, the guy's top could finish 30th. You know, just by having one bad corner. That's just how it is, but going to be tough for her to come back. So I'm looking forward to the next round of that. It's always awesome to watch. The next round, let me just look at the calendar. I don't think it's till June, unfortunately, which is a bit annoying. Yeah, it is Jerez. So where the MotoGP boys just were the 7th to the 9th of June. So a few weeks away, which is annoying. Because more racing, the better, right? Let's see. Yeah, we got the 600s there. Everyone's there, so it should be really good. Looking forward to that. That's a cool track as well. It's a very cool track. Okay, on to the beer of the week. This week is the All In Brewing Leg Breaker. It's an IPA. If you've never heard of All In Brewing is a Brisbane-based brewery. They're out at Geebung. So, got to support local, independent. That's how we like to do it. Always try and get an independent beer, especially local. I really like All In Brewing. They have one of my favourite beers ever. It's called the Mutiny. It's a red IPA. I think it's about 7.5%. They're well-priced beers. A 4-pack. I think this IPA 4-pack was about $18. And it's fresh and it's local. Not full of shit. That always helps. And one of my big bugbears that they don't do, I'm happy to say, is they do 375ml cans. Thank you. I don't like these shitty little 330ml cans. Like, what the fuck? I don't see the point in it. That's one thing about... So, Brewdog. If you haven't heard of Brewdog, they're a Scottish brewery who makes some amazing beers. They're opening a brewery just over near the Gateway Bridge, so towards Manly Way. Huge brewery, going to do a lot of business, really looking forward to it. But they do 330ml cans. I'm like, why? Why are you doing this to us? I don't want to pay the same price for less liquid. It sounds ridiculous, but my money counts. That's what I'm going. My money counts. It sounds ridiculous. I want value for money, alright? I want the flavour. I want it all. I want the taste. I want the alcohol percentage. I want the flavour. And I want 375 mils. Dag nabbit. Anyway, I'm rambling. So, Leg Breaker IPA. It's 5.6%. So, pretty light for an IPA. Not a light beer by any means, but for an IPA, not really heavy. So I haven't had this in a long time. And I had one with my wife last night. And I said to her, what do you think of that? She's like, oh, it was great. I loved it. And I didn't like it. I hate to say it. I was like, I remember this having more flavour to it. So I just had it out of the can last night. And it was a bit thin tasting, if that makes sense. It was a bit thin. There wasn't enough, like, this is going to sound really wanky. This is a motorbike podcast, but we can talk about whatever we want. It is our podcast, all right? It wasn't much like body to it, but it was still, and not a lot of flavour. It was still bitter at the end. So I wasn't that impressed. But I had one tonight while I'm doing the podcast now. I'm just finishing one up, and I put it in an IPA glass, and it was noticeably better. But I like the Mutiny more. It just blows me away. But yeah, in the IPA glass, sorry, I just picked up the drink and it's stuck to the... Don't you hate that when it sticks to the coaster, the moisture? But in the glass, I like this a lot more. So, and I definitely like their pale ale is really good as well. They do some other ones that are amazing. They're local guys. You got to support your locals, and they do some really good beers. And they do wort kits as well. So if you want to do homebrew, you can just buy like 15 litres of wort, so just condensed beer pretty much. Add water to it, add some yeast, let it sit for a month or whatever it is. And you have beer that costs $18 a 4-pack, but for like $40 for 20 litres instead. Amazing. Anyway, I'm rambling, whatever. This is going to happen a bit this episode when I'm by myself. Like a Nigel, no friends. All In Brewing, definitely pick it up if you see it. It's not some weirdo, no-name beer. They're very good. The brewery's good. We used to go there pretty regularly. A mate lives around the corner. Definitely rate it. Alright, on to the MotoGP news. And there's actually a fair bit from this week. Some really interesting stuff as well. Probably the biggest thing for me was to do with KTM and Zarco. We put a post up during the week basically saying, hey, what do you think? And since then, the KTM boss has had an interview with a couple of guys, I think it was Speed Week and then Crash.net. And basically he said that, I'll cut it short, I'll condense it. He's not happy with Zarco. He's basically being given to the middle of the year to improve his performances. Thinly veiled, like, improve your shit or you are out. And that, yes, it is partly the bike. They can admit that. However, after Zarco's comments last race where he's lost his shit and said, this bike's fucking shit. It's got a shit chassis. If it's not that, it's got a shit engine power delivery. Which obviously... that does not look good on international TV, and it was broadcast. So, of course, the boss of KTM is not going to be happy. It's completely understandable. So he said that, look, we hired him to get results. He's not getting results. Zarco has also said, I'm doing everything the bike is capable of. And the KTM boss's rebuttal was pretty much, well, yeah, you are for your riding style. Look at what Pol Espargaro is doing. He's got 3 times the points as you. So basically, hey, fuck you. You're not. Get your shit together. In other words. I'm all for that. Like, Zarco is, yes, he has valid complaints. The KTM's pretty shit. It's the worst bike on the track. Aprilia is a much better motorcycle. If you were to put Marquez on the Aprilia, it would get podiums. That I honestly believe that. They've got their reliability sorted this year after the issues last year. Marquez would be a podium contender on that bike. So he's got a bit of leeway in that the KTM isn't amazing. But it seems that the KTM are like really willing to make this work, and they want to make it. They don't like failing. They got to, every single thing we said in the past, everything they do, they win. Even though it's all been off-road nearly, they sucked at superbikes. I don't know if you remember, but they were no good at superbikes. The RC8 was a really good bike, but no good for superbike racing. So they're winning in the Supercross. They win at Dakar every freaking year. They win all the other races. So they really want to conquer MotoGP. It's like their next thing. It's one of the only things left, I think, for them to really do. So they are pouring in a shitload of money, and all to the I'm going to try to say his name, Pitbier. He's actually said, yes, we also need to improve. We are supplying heaps of parts. And he didn't say we just need to improve one facet of the bike. He says we need to improve the chassis, engine, and electronics. So they know the bike's not perfect, but they're giving it everything they got and pouring a shitload of money into it. And I think when Pedrosa comes in, that should help. You know, he's a fast guy. He's one of the fastest guys to ride nearly ever. Won a lot of races. So we'll see he's a very light guy, but here's the thing. The KTM is this animal to ride. Zarco has come through with this super smooth riding style. Even in Moto2, that was what he's renowned for, is his really smooth riding style. Rode a Yamaha, which suited that perfectly. And now he's on a V4 KTM that's really wild to ride. And what was really interesting is Pitbier is said to Zarco, this isn't an inline 4. You need to ride this aggressively. And his logic basically is for going for the V4 is, you look at the last few years, I think since 2017, the inline 4s haven't been winning much. It's been the V4s that have been dominant. Whether that's the bike or the riders, you know, that's up to them. That's their decision. Personally, he's got a point. Like, the best motor is the Ducati, and it's a V4 and L4. Same shit. The second best motor is a Honda, which is a V4. Aprilia has gone for the V4 as well, and that's improving. Yamaha's still a really good bike, and it's an inline 4. And the Suzuki is really strong now, it's an inline 4. So, I don't know. But he's basically said, his logic was, you can't ride this like the inline 4. You have to ride this super aggressively, and it's up to you to turn this around. So, Johan seems pretty keen to do that, like as he would be. You don't want to be a backmarker, especially this is his home race at Le Mans this weekend. He's really going to want to put in a good performance. He's basically also, not basically, he has also hired a riding coach. I'll look up his name here, is Jean-Michel Bale. So he was a motocross champion and he got some pole positions in 500s. So he's been hired as well to help Johan out and put him on the right track pretty much. So I hope he goes well. I really like Johan Zarco. He's a bit of a weirdo, bit of a free spirit, and he can ride like a demon when he's on, as he proved in the last couple of years. So hopefully he does well. Next big bit of news is the rumor is that Honda is giving Lorenzo an ultimatum. So the report is saying that Honda will get rid of him at the close of 2019 should his results not improve. Lorenzo's pretty much gone on to say, hey, this is a load of shit. And in his words, it's important that we understand that this is going to be a long process. He's also brushed it off, basically saying, yeah, this is a rumour. This stuff always happens when someone's struggling. Which is completely understandable. And Honda are in a pretty good position where they can just use Lorenzo as a test rider, basically, a development rider, to help make the Honda more rideable, because Marquez is going to get bulk points. If he doesn't, Crutchlow does really well all the time, very consistently, and Nakagami is really strong this year, so they're going to be right up there in the constructors, even without Lorenzo. So they can probably wait for him to come good, and he will come good. Like, he's one of the best riders of all time. The same thing happened on Ducati, and he's basically said that it's not going to come naturally to him. The Ducati didn't come naturally to him. He even said, look at Johan. It's not coming naturally to him either. So, and it's a completely different riding style to Honda. The Honda is basically designed around Marquez's riding style, which is a loose unit. The man's a wild rider, which is the brake really late, slide the rear wheel out, and tip it in quickly with a massive lean angle, which is the complete opposite of how Lorenzo rides. He's all about maintaining corner speed, being smooth, being subtle on the throttle. So this bike's like the exact same as Ducati was. It's the counter opposite of that. So he's got to learn to ride it. I would be surprised if they do get rid of him. Who are they going to put in? Who are they going to put in? Like, none of the young guns are banging on the door. Alex Marquez? No. Luthi? No. Remy Gardner? That'd be pretty cool. I'd see Lorenzo can, so Remy Gardner gets a ride. That'd be pretty cool. But it's not going to happen. I think what they'll do is keep using him, keep using his experience, develop the bike more. His results will come eventually. And they'll be getting easy Constructors' Championships. Easy peasy. Another big thing, not really, very minor, is the Audi bikes have a new livery for the weekend. If you don't know what Audi bikes are, they're the Ducatis, because if you look at them, you would not fucking know they're a Ducati. It doesn't say it nearly anywhere except on the tank and small writing, but it's got Audi Sport written. So what they've done is, Mission Winnow, they're not allowed to advertise in France. So Petrucci and Dovi have got their own signs on the side of the bikes. It actually looks really cool. I dig it. I think they should do this for all bikes. Not to the same, the sponsorships, they're going to hold their end of the bargains up. But it looks really cool. I'll put a photo up during the weekend of their bikes. But just having their personal livery on the side looks great. I really dig it. It's very cool. Are you the ultimate amateur racer? Do you want to chop your mates up the inside at practice with an unnecessarily aggressive block pass while laughing in your helmet? Of course you do. And that's why you need On the Back Wheel knee sliders. On the Back Wheel knee sliders are so smooth they take you straight into her DMs. They wear slower than that rich guy rides his brand new leader bike. On the Back Wheel knee sliders, buy them off eBay or Facebook. Alright, another bit of news that was really interesting and I saw that everyone liked was Miller is pissed off at Alex Espargaro and said he was extremely rude. From the last race, basically, there was let's just call it a racing incident. It's not really an incident that should go beyond that. It happened in a race, that was it. So Alex Espargaro, from memory, has gone up the inside, a little bit too hot, but still made the pass. But he was a bit hot and went a bit deep, so Miller has swept up the inside, but Alex has gone back onto the race line, and Miller has crashed just before Alex has come in front of him, but Alex also stood it up, and that was it. They collided. They did collide, and Alex was very lucky not to come off. He said he did cut his rear wheel, which made it really hard to ride from then on in. One of the winglets maybe, or the front of Miller's bike. But I know Miller, we said this last time, Miller was fucking pissed. He was waving his arms around and going this. That he's said that, they're going on a flight after the race, and Alex has basically said, you deserve to crash. Looking into it, he said, yeah, I did say that. But the full story is basically, I'll read it verbatim, pretty much what he was saying, what Alex said. So he was annoyed, for one, because he said that him and Miller usually have a good relationship, as much as you can, I suppose, when you're racing for sheep stations, pretty much. And he said, what happened? Miller has said, what happened? I crashed. And Alex said, yeah, but there was no space. You crashed because you deserved to crash. So that's putting in the context, so that's Miller's gotten his goat about that. And it kind of has a point, because what did Miller expect to happen? I love Miller. He's awesome. I really do. But what did he expect to happen? He's shot up the inside. Alex couldn't have seen him, for one, because he's gone a little bit wide, got a little bit crossed up, and then was coming back in. So he wouldn't have seen him. And it looked like Miller might have even lost his front just before that as well. It's just a racing incident. Like, it honestly was. Honestly, I don't think there's anything more to it. Alex has gone on to say that he was upset at race direction because he feels like Miller should have been given a warning, which I don't think he should have. But he does make a valid point. And I'll read it. Alex says, what makes me super angry is that the penalty has to be for the action, not the consequence. If I had crashed and broken my collarbone, Jack would have been given a big penalty. I didn't crash because I was super lucky. He was very lucky. And he crashed. I've never seen the inside guy crash. It was just luck. No penalty, but the action was the same. So this made me very, very angry. For me, it was more than a racing incident. Disagree. At least a warning. And he's gone on to say that he thinks it was super aggressive, blah, 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 blah. I'll say it, and I'll say it, I've said it, and I'll say it again. Racing incident, move on. I don't think there should have been a penalty or warning at all. Maybe just a, hey, what did you think was going to happen? You from race direction. Not a warning. Just, no reason to be upset. You went up the inside, he couldn't have seen you. It was a racing incident. There will be no love lost between them this weekend. I hope not. Makes for good watching, that's for sure. And the last bit of news we have is, so the news is that Spa, I'm going to try to say the full name. And I'm not best with names at the best of times, as you probably heard over the last couple of months. Spa Francho Champs. Oh yeah, I feel like I did well. Probably completely wrong. So it's a racetrack. Spa, I'm pretty sure the Formula 1 still races there. It is an awesome racetrack in Belgium. So they, in 2022, they're going to be doing the FIM World Endurance. So they're going to be one of the races that's hosted on the calendar. And they are hoping to get the MotoGP. So Valentino Rossi's been asked about it and commented. And his words were, I'll go racing at Spa in a car. He said, it's too dangerous pretty much. And they may make some changes. And I so hope they do. It probably is too dangerous, to be honest. They need to move some walls back and make some changes because MotoGP bikes are so quick now. You're doing 350, you need a serious runoff area or you're going to hit a wall. I would love to see them there. It is such a cool track. It really is cool. It's getting me excited actually just thinking about it. It's such a cool track. And I saw something recently on Twitter where people asked, oh, what track would you like to see MotoGP bikes race at? And one of the big answers was Spa. So hopefully they can get it going. I think the only more iconic track might be Nürburgring. That could be the only one. Bikes don't race at Nürburgring, we know that. Well, not MotoGP and World Superbikes. From memory, I will look that up. They may have in the past. Probably everyone's raced. Man, MotoGP used to race at Isle of Man. That used to be one of the tracks. Was Isle of Man. So, not a safe period for MotoGP racing, though. Definitely not a safe period. And Rossi's going to say he hopes he does well at Le Mans, which everybody says every weekend. But traditionally, Yamaha does pretty well at Le Mans. In 2017, him and Maverick Vinales had an awesome battle. And Rossi came off in the last lap. I think it was at the last corner. And Vinales ended up winning. So, I'm a huge Rossi fan. I hope he does well this weekend. I suppose that leads me into the next little bit. Tips. Alright, as you know, you should know by now at least, we don't tip Marquez because boring. He wins everywhere. Like, he's almost a guaranteed win all the time now. He's ridiculous. Well, that's bullshit because different people win all the time. But we just don't pick him, alright? Don't question us. It's what we do. So, Lance has phoned in his tips for me. He sent a text through. And he said he is tempted to go Crutchlow. Lunatic. But he's gone with Miller. I actually agree with this one. I think Miller's going to be really strong this weekend. Le Mans suits Ducatis. There's a lot of slow corners with point and shoot pretty much, which is Ducati's strong point, but also Marquez's strong point. So that will be interesting. And it's traditionally always suited Yamaha. I think because it's colder and it has high grip. And they usually like cooler conditions. So I think they'll do pretty well. Me, I was tempted to go... Oh, man. I might just do it. I think I'm just going to do it. Vinales. I don't want him to. I want Rossi to. The Yamahas. But I think Vinales... I was going to say Dobby. But... he's due. Dobby's due. Like, he's due for a win or a second. He really is. But I'm going to go Vinales. Let's just do it. You never know. Lance has gone for Fabio Quartararo, you fucker. Damn it! I wanted him. I really wanted him. I think he was going to do well. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets pole. Last year, Zarco got pole. He ain't going to get pole this year, I'm telling you now. I think, Quartararo is going to do really well. What's interesting about him, we laugh, we're like, why the fuck was this guy signed? He has proved us wrong for sure, and a lot of people wrong. Hope he keeps it up. So he's gone Fabio. I'm going to go Bagnaia then. He hasn't been great, to be honest, but Mir hasn't. I don't think the Suzukis will do great at this circuit for some reason. I think Ducati might do a bit better, so I will go for Bagnaia. In Moto 2, Lance has gone for Gardner. So he's gone on all Aussie wins. Nice. I dig it. I'm going to go for Alex Marquez. I think he does pretty well at this circuit generally. I don't want to go Luthi because he's such a safe choice, and I'm going to go Alex. I think I said at the start of the year, I will never go Alex Marquez again. Never say never, I suppose. All right, Moto 3, Lance's surprise, going with Della Porta. Every fucking round. Yeah, he's pretty solid though, pretty consistent. I'm going to go Antonelli. Let's go Antonelli. And what is our guest picker gone? Crashly. Let's have a little Google here. Little Google on the webpage. Facebook. If you haven't realised, we have a Facebook, The Amateur Racer. You should check it out. Crashly's gone a couple of interesting picks. He's gone Fanati. I dig that choice just because it would be hilarious if Fanati won. Just be so funny if he won. It'd be great. So he's gone Fanati, Alex Marquez, copycat, and Jack Miller. Geez, so he's copied, and he's gone Bagnaia. Man, a mix between myself and Lance there. But that could mean anything though. You've seen how our tips go. They usually don't go well. Someone usually DNFs. And just having a look what other people chosen. We've got Alex Rins as a winner. Lorenzo. Oh man, that is ballsy. Lorenzo? I would love if he won, but I cannot see that happening. We'll see. Someone's chosen Dovi. That was going to be my chick. Another Miller choice. So pretty mixed here. Even though we're pretty biased, usually us Aussie boys, to Miller. But he's been really good this year. Bar last round where he struggled. I think he'll do well. He really will. Interesting about this. Going back to the Pit Bière interview. He's gone on to say that, hey, our Moto 2 bikers sucked. Well, that's how I read it. Anyway, he's read that they've really struggled, and he pretty much blamed the project lead. He went to say that, hey, yeah, the project lead has pretty much made the wrong decision by using last year's chassis and trying to basically fit it to the new engine, and it's basically failed. And they're going to bring a completely new chassis they're going to try to bring it to this round at Le Mans. So by the time this gets out, Le Mans will be done. Not done, sorry. Le Mans will be, free practice 1 will be done in MotoGP or something. So it'd be interesting to see if they have bought this new chassis. It's good to see it's not the Kalex Cup. The Speed Up boys were doing better last round. Getting into these Euro circuits, they suited a bit more. So it would be really good to see KTM get up there as well. Okay, last segment for this week is Ask Tar. And we got one question this week from Craig Bentley. And his question is, will the new V4R win in Australian Superbikes? Yes, I think it will. Whether it's this year or not is going to be the big question, because they are testing it, but they're waiting on a lot of parts to bring it up to spec and to be able to race. So how it's happened, from what we heard from Q Performance and also Mike Jones, is pretty much that they got the bike, they're testing it. However, pretty much the World Superbikes and those rounds in the Euros, in the European circuit, get first parts. And then the Australian boys will get their parts. So they're just waiting on parts pretty much. And until it is faster than the Panigale final edition, they're going to use the final edition pretty much. So we'll see. It might be this year, it might be next year, but will it win? Hell yeah, I think it will win. It's a crazy close field, but that bike's an animal. And if someone like Mike Jones is on it, and he is fighting for victories as it is, and if he's on an even better bike, I think there's no reason why it can't win. Alright guys, that's it for this episode, or podcast. Number 9 is podcast 9. Jeez, it's getting up there now. Compare that, well, 9's not very much, but you know what I mean. Next week should be back to normal. I'd say Lance will be back. Enjoy the race. Send us both stuff on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. That's cool. And as usual, subscribe, like us, write reviews if you can for the podcast and iTunes, Spotify, and all that. Because I've been reading it does make a big difference in like getting us out there and letting people know that we're okay. You know, we're pretty decent. We are weirdos, you know, whatever. Who isn't? But yeah, give us a like, give us a review, and make sure you subscribe. And we'll see you all next week, guys. And just make sure you keep doing those ASTARs. They're really good. And enjoy the GP. I know I will. Alright, catch us.